Alright, so I got my B&M flex plate here. The flex plate that was on there, it's actually a solid, so it's pretty strong. I'm sure it would hold up, but I'm gonna go ahead and go a little overkill with the B&M flex plate. Never had problems with these. The last flex plate I cheaped out on, and I went and bought an off-brand. When I put it on that 383 that's in my mom's car, it was, I think it was bent in too far, pressed too far, so the heads of the bolts were actually squeaking against the the torque converter. So I had to take it all apart. There was a problem with that transmission anyway, and I found it rubbing, you know, the rub marks on the torque converter. So I ended up having, it was just like I had a mixture of bolts. They weren't all the same brand, and I had to grind two of them down, like the little markings on them, to get it to clear. And so it should be good now. But anyways, put this bad boy on there. Got my Frank Lupo torque converter, dynamic converter. Check out the price on that. Yeah, not cheap. $665. It's not counting the shipping, but oh yeah, it is. Oh, that's right, because it gave me like a discount. Anyway, $665. It's still not cheap. Oh yeah. Check that bad boy out. Whew. Alright, so in case you're wondering, spec-wise, I had this built. I guesstimated the car at 3,500. Now I know a full weight Charger is like 3,800 pounds, but I'm hoping I can get it down around 3,500. We'll find out once we put it back together. I'll weigh it. 440 Mopar aluminum heads, 509 cam, 850 carb, M1 single plane intake, 9.5 to 1 compression, 2-inch headers, 28, I think that's the 28-inch tire, sorry, 355 gear, shift point between 60 to 6,200. It's going to be street driven, and then possibly nitrous at some point. So they built it pretty stout. I think it was an 8.5 inch. I was hoping to see if it was on here, but I don't see it written on there. I think it's 8.5. Alright, that's what I got going on here. So I mounted the, just finger tight, put the flex plate onto the torque converter so that I can mark it. So when I put these together, it's going to be easy for me to align the converter and the flex plate together. If you don't know this, one of these ears is not exactly 90 degrees from the rest of them. It's like a little bit off. And so if you turn the holes, you can get 3 of the holes in and then 1 will be off. You know, and it'll drive you crazy if it's in the car. So this way we paint it now. If we ever have to pull the trans and take it apart and put it back together, we'll know we need to spin the converter until it lines up to the flex plate, and that's the ear that goes to that hole, and it'll make our life a lot easier. Nothing like being frustrated because you got the holes, you get 3 bolts in, you get to the 4th bolt, it doesn't line up, and then you gotta spin the thing over again, take the other 3 bolts out, and then turn it 90 degrees and see if that got it. Do that 2 or 3 times before you get it right. It'll really make you mad. Alright, torque spec is 55 foot-pounds. I'm going to go in at 35 foot-pounds first and then work my way in. Go to 45 next. And 55. Okay, stop recording. Alright, you can see the spray paint I put on the flex plate right here. So now we just gotta bring the converter around. There's something I want to point out that I did. I put the first bolt in. I didn't tighten it all the way down. I just tried to get it started, and then the second bolt I put in, I started to tighten it in so that I could pull the converter closer to the flex plate, and then I went back to the other bolt and pulled it in. So I was drawing it in, you know, a little bit on one side, then the other, back and forth. Then I leave them loose. Now I've had happen in the past, I'll tighten one up, the first one, and then you go all the way, you go around to the next bolt, and then it's freaking like just a little bit cockeyed, so you can't get the next bolt in there. So I leave them just a little bit loose so that they can, you know, the flex plate and the converter can slide apart from each other a little if need be. And now that I'm on the last bolt, I'm going to tighten this one down and then go around and tighten the other three. Alright, so I got 2 bolts in on the converter, started turning it over, got the third bolt in, turned it over, got the 4th bolt in, and then went ahead and tightened it. When I tightened that 4th bolt, those other 2 bolts were too loose. So it pulled the converter this way, pulling the bolt heads out towards the block. And then when I try to turn it over, it would hit something on the block and it's stuck. Try to go the other way and it hits something else on the block and it's stuck. So I'm like, shit. So instead of pulling the trans, I just loosened the trans, put a gap in here so that those bolt heads can go that way with the transmission, and then I turn the engine over to get it to go past those spots. So I got that 3rd bolt down, tightened it up, now it clears, but then I'm tightening or turning the engine over, and the 4th bolt, which is also too loose, is now hitting the block. So I loosened it a little bit more. I'm going to turn it over, try to get that head past that point so I could tighten it down. Alright, so installing this torque strap, if you have a 70 and later B or E body, it's already got holes in the K-member for your sway bar, because the sway bar goes through the K-member. On the 69 and older, it's got, the sway bar goes up in front of the K-member, so it doesn't have holes. So you gotta drill some holes to put this in. I know a lot of guys don't want to do it because, you know, they want to leave their car all original and stuff, but you know, I'd rather have these holes in the K-member and have the engine bolted down than have it flex and have the carburetor smash into the hood of the car, or your fan go through your radiator. So I'm putting it on mine. Anyway, this is how it works. You've got this plate here, which is attached to the K-member. You got a rod going through here with these washers, and you got some rubber biscuits here. So there's a little flexibility there when the motor's torquing, but it's solid, so it'll never rip through. So you don't have that issue. Anyway, Shoemaker's had some issues with getting product shipped out and being in back order on some of their components. Don't know if you've experienced that or not, but I did. I ordered a torque strap and it didn't come very quickly. It wasn't coming at all. So I called on it. I shot emails, they never responded. I called, left messages. Finally frustrated, I was like, do you guys, like, just let me know. Am I never gonna get the parts? You know, am I getting ripped off here? You know, like, what's the deal? Please respond. You guys aren't responding to any of my messages. So they finally responded and said they were back ordered on the plate. And but he says, I have one on the shelf that's turquoise, if you're okay with that. And I said, yeah, just ship it. I can spray paint it black. So I ended up getting it. Now, I love the product. I mean, I've used this torque strap on a few motors and it's freaking great. I love it. So, but people have there's been rumors online about them going out of business and trying to sell the business and stuff. So long story short, a buddy of mine, Chris Field, bought Shoemaker. His shop is called Motec over in Marietta, and they just recently bought Shoemaker as of like a few weeks ago. So you shouldn't have any issues getting product now. So you know, great products. They make awesome motor mount swap kits for a whole number of motors and cars. So I definitely will recommend them at this point in time. I don't think you're gonna have any issues getting your stuff, and if you do, I'm sure they will tell you up front, you know. So anyways, cool ass product. Now to put this K-member on the motor. Alright, to get these motor mounts to get seated into the K-member, the motor mounts have these nipples on them and they fall into these slots on the K-member. And you know, I got one side in, couldn't get the other side to drop in, had to loosen it up, and then I had to finagle the engine and the K-member. Ended up getting this side kind of started, and then, you know, back and forth, got the other side in, so it's done. So I got the cherry picker pulling the motor up and down. I got a jack over here raising and dropping the transmission, and I got a jack here on the K-member to twist it around to get it all to work. So just so you know, it might take something like that to get it to all fall into place when you're trying to drop it into the K-member. Alright, kind of pissed off, destroyed all the powder coat on this shaft. Luckily I have two kits. One of these kits was an A-body kit that I had laying around, so there's a nice piece in here. I'm going to use it. But this time, before I start, I'm going to go run a tap and die through this shit so that it's nice and smooth, so I don't destroy it like this one. We'll try again, and then this beat up one I'll probably put on our club car on Dorothy, and because it's no big deal to look ugly on that car. I was gonna let it slide on this car and it just kept getting worse and worse, so since I got two, we're gonna use the nice one, so screw it. Alright, so the issue with this one was the threads are just not tapped deep enough. It got to about right there or so, and then the bolt started to bottom out on the threads because the threads ended. This one's screwing on farther, no problem. So this guy was screwed up. Anyway, I guess when I run it on the other car, I'm probably gonna have to like cut this guy down a little bit, because I'm going to run out of thread. Alright, got this 1030 Royal Purple high performance street motor oil with Cinrelec, fortified with zinc, phosphorus for gasoline and diesel engines. Anyway, good for hydraulic cam, flat tap it.